Jeramie, what is up, my man? How are you?
Good. This is exciting. I'm excited for this.
I am excited too. We've been talking about doing this forever, and now it's really happening.
Right. It's unique. I mean, so, we moved into the museum. Weird. And I have to explain this to my clients every single time, like that we're in a museum.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I got a text yesterday saying like, hey, it keeps taking me to the museum, but like, I can't find your studio. I'm like, I'm in the museum. And so we kind of that story, right? But then part of what we're doing here is you're engineering this podcast room.
Yep.
And so we thought it'd be cool to like, hey, what if we did a podcast?
Yep.
We have crap to say. We want to say it. So let's do it. So yeah, we're finally here 3 months later.
Yep.
Into the new year, 2025.
Which is exciting. We did it. That's pretty fast and all. I mean, we came in here, what did we get into the museum like September, right?
Right.
September, and then we had October, and then November you got Thanksgiving and the holidays, and so hey, it's happening is the cool part.
Yeah. I think it's cool. And then, I mean, we're still figuring it all out, right? I mean, so we're figuring out what we want to talk about, what we want to do.
Yep.
But ultimately, we're just like two old photographers in Reno.
Yep.
And I'm getting a little more jaded as I get older, looking at the youngins. I think I started when I was like 23.
Yeah.
16 years ago, something like that, as a photographer. How long have you been shooting?
Well, professionally, I incorporated in 2007, so a couple years probably before you started.
Yeah, I'm 09.
Yeah. So
That's it? 07?
Yeah, professionally, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I've been doing photography since I was a little kid. I used to take my mom's Instax camera and just to press the button, watch the bulb, it go, psh, and then my dad got me into it later with film in high school. So I've been doing it forever. Professionally is when I decided in 2007 to like do that. But I was still working a full-time job. You remember at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working like 80 hours a week plus doing that on the weekends. So I kind of started that way.
Right. I mean, that's so I didn't know if you know. So I bought my first camera at Best Buy.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And you sold it to me.
Did I sell it to you?
Yep, you were the guy that sold it to me.
Sweet.
So we were giving birth to our kid, our second kid. We adopted the first, and then we were having our second, which is our first birth, right? And then my point and shoot, I had a Canon ELPH, this little Canon ELPH, and I had like $400, and I went in, it broke. I went into Best Buy at Legends, and I was sitting there just looking at cameras, and then I think you walked up. You were the manager at the time, and I didn't really know who you were. I knew of your name because I was actually researching photographers for a while, commercial photographers primarily, and you talked me into buying this Sony Alpha A300, and you were like, this camera comes with 2 lenses, it's a kit, you can switch out lenses, do whatever you want, and that's actually the birthplace of my photography career.
Oh, sick. Cool.
And I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, you're the one that sold me the first camera.
Yeah, I remember you coming in. I didn't know that was the birthplace, though, so I'm honored.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be a part of that in any way, shape, or form.
It's weird to think about.
Now you're a freaking award-winning, amazing photographer. It's cool.
I have friends that vote for me.
Dude, well, that's important. So for you guys out there watching this creativity quadrant is a podcast, a video podcast specifically, that we're going to just talk about all things creativity, creative things and forces, whether that's art, photography, videography, design, but also how creativity seeps into everything in life and different things.
I feel like focusing on the local area, we'll bring some people in every once in a while. Yeah. Ultimately, I mean, we started a TikTok, we started a Facebook, or I don't know if we started Facebook. We started a Instagram, so a Meta, and I'll be running the TikTok, so I'm going to put some little videos on there. But yeah, whatever kind of, it's going to migrate. It's going to interest because you're here to run podcasts for everybody. So, I mean, like basically if anybody in the area wants a podcast engineered where you don't have to think or do anything, then we have the space for it, right?
Yep.
And that's ultimately the goal. And so we're just going to kind of piggyback off that and see what we can talk about and like, who's going to care about what, this may be great. This may be nothing.
Well, and video podcasting now is so huge. Live streaming, like I think we saw it just take off during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Back in 2020, everybody was like, stuck at home. So they were locked up, couldn't get out. So video podcasting became just this medium to communicate with just such a larger audience. And so now it's almost like a necessity to use video in your marketing or communication with your client or just expressing your brand, to the public.
I think it's cool. I mean, the medium's out there and we have it, so why not, you know?
Why not?
So, all right, walk me through this. What is it that you care about now? So you've been a photographer for, let's say, 18, 19 years now, right?
Yeah.
2008, 17 years-ish. What is it that you care about now that you really didn't care about in the past, or like you're seeing now that's changing and you're like, I just don't understand how that's working, right? Because we're getting older. We're getting jaded.
Well, I'll tell you. So like one thing I would say I've changed, since 2007 when I started. Almost 2008. It was like November 2007. So I would say now I'm not as concerned with the competitive nature of our business.
Right.
Like I just really look at what I can do and how I can make the services I do for a client better, essentially.
Right.
You know, whereas when I was first starting, I was constantly like, looking at other people's work. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do that? Now I have more experience. So I've learned a lot over the years. Now it's more like, how do I just bring the vision of a client to life
Right.
through the knowledge that I have. But I think what's weird now in some ways, but also kind of cool, and we're going to talk about this on another podcast episode, is the way artificial intelligence is embedding itself throughout the photo video industry. And I think there's some good, and I think there's some things that kind of worry me in some ways, but
Right.
we'll talk about that more in depth. But I think that that's something that's interesting to see that is changing. And I think I've also, I started in photography primarily like you, right?
Right.
And I think back in 2018 or 19 is when I shifted more into video, and then 2020 really pushed me into it. So now I'm doing like half and half. So that's also changed, I guess, for me.
I hate video. Like I absolutely, like I'll do my like YouTube and all that, and I'm successful YouTube, successful TikTok. But like, I mean, I literally just one button CapCut edit those.
Yeah.
I'm out of it. Color grading, not going to happen.
You like
with me.
CapCut? A lot of people love CapCut.
I just like it because it takes away my ums and ahs.
Simple,
it makes
too.
my 10-minute video go down to 2 minutes.
Yes.
And that's all I care about. Like, I don't want to sit there. I don't want to split. I don't want to scrub. I don't want to do any of that. I want to do everything from my phone.
It's fast.
Yeah. So
CapCut's
that's all I care about.
smart.
Well, and also like in that world, it's not like everybody's watching every video I do.
Sure.
So I'll spend 20 minutes doing a video. I get one view. The video that I have going viral right now, 13 million views on TikTok.
It's huge.
I just literally took it from my Meta glasses, posted it on TikTok, didn't think about it at all, 13 million views. And I'm like, I did nothing. And people are watching this.
Do you are the Meta glasses the same as the Ray-Bans, or are they
Same
different?
ones.
Okay, they are.
Yeah, so the
I've
Ray-Bans
seen
Meta.
those. Those look
Oh my
cool.
God, dude. Yeah,
Is
get a
it
pair.
1080 or 4K?
1080.
1080 now,
I think
but I bet you
1080,
eventually.
yeah. And really, I mean, and it films in like a weird square format. But it's made for TikTok. I mean, it's made for Reels and dude, I love it.
I saw the funniest video. There's a company that creates. So I use Final Cut for all my editing, and there's a company that creates a lot of plugins and overlays and cool stuff for Final Cut. And there's this guy that works for this company. He's hilarious, and he also owns his own business. It's called Seed Creative, and he's just funny to watch. And he put a funny TikTok of himself using those glasses, like in filming B-roll all over the place of like funny stuff. It's hilarious. It was hilarious.
It's interesting. Like the times I'm not wearing it and something happens to me, I just kick myself. But like I'll walk through my day. Like if I wear them throughout the day, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I caught this. This happened.
Yeah.
I think it's just a cool medium. And at some point, I won't need the glasses at all because I actually took the lenses off of mine. So I just looked through nothing because I don't need any lenses.
Yeah,
so people are like, why are you wearing glasses without lenses? And I'm like, oh, they're Metas. I mean, you can do full prescription on them and everything too. But like, yeah, it's a different medium. It's chill. It's nice. It's relaxed. A lot of times people don't know it's there. There's a little light that comes on, so you're not creepy.
You know what it reminds me of? Oh,
What?
that is cool, actually, that there is a light. Do you remember that show? What was it called? Black Mirror? There was like
yeah.
a couple episodes where they like
They
it
do a
was
lot of,
embedded
like-
in their eyes, like it wasn't glasses, and they like recorded everything. I
Yeah,
was
like
oh.
contacts. I bet you it's going to be
Yeah.
like that. Something goes
It's
over
gonna,
your ear
yep.
and push forward, which is crazy. So one thing I want to talk about is the nightclub scene because that always interests me. So was that like your first intro like into photography, or how did you
I'll
get
give
that?
you
Because
my
you did with
origin
Peppermill.
story.
Yeah.
I'll give you my origin story. So basically, so back in 2007, I had a lot of friends that were working in the nightclub industry. So I was just taking pictures for fun. Back probably probably sooner than that, like 2006, 2007. But in 2000, probably late 2007, somewhere in there, I had a buddy that worked like VIP host and like manager at a club called All City Live. I don't know if you remember
Oh my
that.
God, yeah.
Right?
That
Old
was
school days.
That was like the scary one.
At Grand Sierra Resort.
Yeah.
So basically, it was an interesting concept. John Lewis, who was a retired UFC fighter, then became a Vegas promoter, was promoting most of the events, and it was connected to like Nikki Beach. So All City
Nikki
Live and
Beach.
Nikki Beach.
Yeah.
And so I had heard from my buddy that was working there that night that Papa Roach was going to be performing, and I was a big fan of Papa Roach at the time.
Yeah.
I still think they're cool. I don't listen to their music as much.
We're
but-
dating ourselves.
Yeah, I'm
Most of
getting.
these people are gonna be like, what are you talking about? What is this? Google them.
I'm definitely in my mid 40s, so I'm older. So anyway, he's like, "Hey, do you want to come in and snap some photos?"
Right.
Like, and I didn't even have a super high end camera back then. It was like a Canon, might have been like a 40D or 20D,
Yeah, but
whatever
tech
it was
then,
back then. I don't know.
It's
It
still,
was just a nice prosumer type, digital SLR. And so I went in there and I shot the whole show. I took pictures of like Grip and Grins, the concert. I got to meet Jacoby, hang out with him.
right.
And then, at the end of the night, the promoter's like, hey, would you mind sending me a link of those photos so I can see them? And if I like them, I'll use them.
Right.
For back then it was MySpace, right?
Yeah.
That's
Oh
how
my
long
God,
ago this was. And so he saw him. He's like, dude, we love these photos. Can we use them? I'm not going to say how much I got paid because it was so little.
No, I mean, I would have done it for free at that. I mean, I would have even done it for like, just tag me.
It was a tiny amount of money.
Yeah.
And then, but I was like, I can't believe I just got paid for doing something I love to do.
Right.
And then
And you
after
got to
that,
meet, you're like, I was there meeting people.
I got to meet, and so after that, he basically just said, would you like to do this every weekend? And because at that time I was working at Best Buy as a district manager, I was able to do it on the weekends because that's when I was not traveling. Actually I was district a little later, but so I was able to do both, kind of moonlight on the weekends, do photography for fun, make a little bit of money and learn that scene. So then that took me into concert photography. And then, and then I slowly started expanding and I was able to get like a couple contracts for different venues for nightlife photography. And then I had other photographers underneath me. And then after my daughter was born, she's 6 now. So I started to drift away from that whole scene because it was like, I have a kid. I don't want to be up that late. I'm getting older. And then when 2020 hit, basically at that point, I was only having guys or girls that worked for me go into the clubs and photograph. And I was just managing.
For you,
I was just managing. And then 2020 hit and everything closed down. And at that point, I just kind of, I still do concert work, but not nightlife stuff.
I don't see it anymore. Also, I don't go to nightlife. Like
I'm too old for that.
I would see you come in and out of Edge. Like I would be leaving Peppermill for whatever reason. I would see you going in, and I'm like, you're going in right like 11 o'clock. I'm like,
it was an exhausting thing, but I'll tell you what. If you can shoot in that environment, as you know, as a wedding photographer, you can shoot in that environment, changing light, mixed light, crazy stuff happening. You can shoot in any environment. So
that's
really
the number one thing that when photographers, no hate to this, I mean, a little bit of hate, when people call themselves natural light photographers, I just go like, you know what, the word photo means light. Like it's your job to go into any environment and control that light. So just because you say you're natural light, all that means to me is that you're not ready to shoot in certain environments. And we live in a casino town, right?
Right.
Eventually, you're going to go into somebody's house dark at night. They're not going to have the right lighting. What are you going to say to that client then? Like, oh my God, I'm so, and that's one of my little icks right now that's going on with like this generation where they're just, only want to shoot in beautiful light. I shot Riley's proposal.
Yes.
8 p.m. outside on a bridge.
You got to have a light.
Yeah. Well, I didn't.
Oh, no.
Because it was a proposal. It was a surprise proposal.
Right, you can't.
So I couldn't do this. So I had to go there early, stage him, where to stand by the lights and all that, and then move around. So I just edited the photos today. He did great. She said yes. Good job for him.
Yay. Congrats, Riley.
But it was one of those things where I was like, if any other photographer was asked, what would they do? Like I knew going into that situation how I was going to set up my lighting, my ISO, and all that stuff for the noise and grain and all that. But
but that's what makes you a professional. And I think that a lot of times clients do not realize how much pre-production, because that's what we call it, pre-production in this industry, goes into making a great shot. Yeah. They think, like to your point, you always say, we just push buttons. It's so much more than that. We have to conceptualize what's going to happen. We have to scout the location like you did. Check the lighting. Is the lighting going to be good? Pre-check maybe settings for the lighting so we're ready, because that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You got to get it right.
You can't mess it up. I feel like what's happening within the industry now is that cameras are more readily available than ever. And I can't really knock on that because I was that guy, right? I was a full-time massage therapist. Bought a camera one day and then started charging $100 for a family shoot or free, or like, hey, can you come and model for me? I want to test some lighting here for free. I'll give you everything. Now it's a whole world of like, I want photographers now to understand that like, it doesn't have to be bam, bam, bam. It doesn't have to be, let me shoot you tomorrow. I'll just meet you there. We'll just play. We'll have some fun. And then I'll send you all the photos and $200. Thanks so much. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way.
So
and I feel like
it's
it's just crazy how there's a lot of misinformation out there, especially in this generation of TikTok and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get in a lot of fights on TikTok and Facebook because I just try to help people and they don't take it as help.
Well, so one of the first things I learned, like, and it's hard to do, especially, if you've had no experience in taking creative criticism or feedback like you're giving them, right? You're trying to help young budding photographer or whatever. And so one advantage I did have is when I worked at Best Buy, I went back to school for photography. I studied the Academy of Arts, some online and then some in-person training. Yeah. And one of the first things they make you do, it's like, I think it's 101. It's like the first class is accepting creative criticism. They make you read a book because then the whole time you're getting the professor is like Marcello, great effort, but that photo was shite.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you need to do these things. And then they make your fellow students like do the same thing.
Be able to criticizing other people too. It's kind of the
Gotta be
thing.
open to it.
I think, you know, I've never taken a perfect photo in my life.
Nobody's taking perfect
Ever.
photos. Nothing. There's no such thing as perfection.
No, yeah. The photos that people like that I take have some sort of emotional attachment to them.
Yeah.
They're like, I like this because it makes me feel this way. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, but my editing was crap. Oh my God, I see a little bit of this light that I forgot to Photoshop out. And, you know, by the time they've already printed it, and I'm like,
We're our own worst
bro.
critics. for sure.
Yeah, we should be. If I ever felt that I got to a point where like I love my work, I'm good with my clients, I'm just gonna quit.
Right.
Do something else, become a personal trainer. That's what I want to. That's the second thing, but I'm going to charge a crap ton.
I tried that when I was younger.
Personal training?
It's a tough gig. Yeah, it's not a lot of money in it.
No.
I mean, I guess if you get like a Hollywood level,
It has
like,
to be
you're
specialized.
killing it,
I mean, I wouldn't pay for personal training. That's kind of where I know.
but I
like,
just
I'm
did
at-
it as like 24-hour fitness. I worked. That was one. I've had a lot of different jobs.
Yeah.
That was one of my first like real jobs.
That's good.
It was fun. It was cool. The part I loved about it was the same thing I love about photographing people is the connection with the people.
Yeah.
You know, that was fun. And so that same thing existed, that, you know, camaraderie and connection
Right.
working with. So that I learned a lot from it, but it was not a high paying job.
Ugh. Well, and that's what it is. I think, and photography is one of those things where like I think people get shocked on how much I make.
Yeah.
You know, we live in Carmela Ranch. We live in this beautiful house, and the amount of people that ask me what else do I do besides photography,
Yeah.
they go,
that's
"What else
true.
do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm just a photographer." And they're like, "And you make X, Y, Z?" And I'm like, "I do." And I never hide it from people, but I feel like that the industry is so like nobody's charging what they're supposed to be charging.
It's true.
They devalue what we do,
Yeah.
and then so a lot of this podcast, I feel like I'm going to be bringing that up and kind of just being like, "Hey, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not nothing special."
Yeah.
You know, if you want to
And
buy
we're
a
gonna have
vacation
some
money,
rants. And
yeah,
that's why there's
quadrant.
Yeah, we're gonna
Just
have some rants
weirdly
on some
enough.
topics.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I think it is important. And I mentored some of those like photographers that worked for me in the nightlife industry back in the day when I used to do that. I tried to mentor several of them as well to, hey, you know, value yourself more,
Right.
charge more. Like, I think a lot of times, well, you are really good at business, right? And I have a decent business background too, but I think a lot of photographers don't, right? They're just creative people that thrive off of the creation process, and then they don't think about like, what's my overhead? Like, you know,
yeah.
how much time am I going to spend editing this? You know, what are the deliverables? How many emails did I have to go back and forth with a client?
Even just little stuff on like, why would I pay to get my camera cleaned? And I do stuff like that. Like, I just sent my camera to Canon, complete, you know, to a lens and all that. So I didn't have it for like 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
I pay for CPS. You know, I pay $300 a year to have this service where I can
same.
send my stuff
Me
in.
too, yeah.
And I was talking to other photographers about it, like, why would you pay that? And I'm like, oh, because I have to get my camera clean. My camera makes me thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So, and it's little like brain, and the guys, it's my business background. I'm like, I need to keep things running, otherwise I can't.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It's one of those things where like, for me, it's common knowledge, but I have to realize a lot of people don't think that way.
Well, and even in art school, they don't teach you that. Like,
they won't
they're
teach
just
you that.
focused
Yeah.
on like how to they do the craft
Yeah.
and produce, but they don't. Maybe later in the later years they do. You know, I only did like 3 years of art school,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
No.
But you
They
know,
won't.
a
It's
lot of
just-
times
it's-
most schools don't.
It's a starving artist mentality, right? It's like people are great at art, but if they're bad at business, they're just going to fail. But also, if you're okay at photography, but an amazing business person that people like, that people want to pay you money for,
crush it.
you'll make a ton of money. And I see that all the time. I see the celebrity photographers who go out, and I'm just like, oh, like that's the work. But all of a sudden, they're a celebrity. They're at all the WPPIs or all these events. They're making a ton of money, not really shooting, but like talking to people,
Right.
doing seminars. And I'm like, you know, the whole creative live stuff back in the day. That's how I learned a lot of my
I
photography.
learned a lot from Creative Live too.
I loved
actually, a
creative. I
ton.
loved it until
A
they
ton.
stopped doing photography and did other things.
Yeah, I
was a little
used
crazy.
to love Creative Live.
Yeah.
I learned a lot like outside of the formal education too. I probably more honestly
Yeah.
from just YouTube and Creative
That's
Live.
all I
and-
have. Yeah,
I mean,
didn't
it's
go
a
to school.
great way to learn. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we are in a time in life now where you can find out anything online almost. You know, the information is endless.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool.
It's we're not reinventing the wheel, but we are modifying it a little bit, right? So like I feel like there's no original ideas anymore at this point. People are just changing things a little bit, especially in the photography world. We have a camera, we have lighting, we're restricted by a group of rules, and that's where we have to go for. And it's not a bad thing, but it's rare when somebody wows me in photography now. When I look at something and I go, oh my God, like how did you do that?
Because you've been doing it a long
Yeah.
time.
So I look at it, I'm like, this is how you did it. you know.
Yeah, we call it reverse engineering: the lighting, the setup, the composition, the lens. You know,
Don't watch a movie with me.
Yeah,
Because I literally will be.
My girlfriend says
that
the same
light.
thing.
Oh my god! See how that? See the lighting right there? Where'd that light come from? Like they switch angles. And I'm like, why is the light on this side now? Like what's
My
happening?
girlfriend, I pause like movies and I say like, what? And she's like, can we just watch the movie?
I know. Doesn't make
Like,
sense.
oops, sorry.
Yeah. But if we watch a movie about hair, my wife's like, her hairs look right. You know, my wife did hair for 20 years. So
What photographers do you draw inspiration from? Like, what are some photographers that you like to follow their work?
not really much anymore. A lot of companies I follow now. So like MagMod.
Yeah.
I'm an ambassador for a company called Pixify. So there's a few photographers in there that we network with that I like their work. So I'll kind of find it. Fearlessphotographers.com. Amazing wedding group of people. It's an award situation. I've never won an award through them, but I just stopped.
Right.
But like locally, there's a guy named Matt Thielen.
Yeah. Very talented.
Yeah. So I love the Thielens, both of them.
Yeah.
Him and his wife. I'm not sure what they're shooting anymore. I haven't seen them in a few years, but I followed them. But at the beginning of my career, there was a couple named Zach and Jody.
Okay.
And they were on Creative Live a lot.
Okay. Oh, yeah,
Zach and Jody Gray.
Yeah, I think
they've
so. I
since
remember. Yeah.
separated.
Okay.
I think Zach got remarried. I just saw on Facebook. I met them one time at WPPI. But just the amount of stuff that they went through a full wedding, how to shoot a full wedding from beginning to end using cyberpunks?
Cyber commanders?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
cyber
The
something?
Einstein
the
system.
Einstein triggers.
Yeah, so Einstein's, we would like, oh my God, the technology's so much better now.
So much better.
We would take triggers and Velcro it to the side of our strobes. We would then Velcro.
I still have those old ones.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I
somewhere.
still have a thing in my bag, but like the technology now, but we would Velcro everything. I would have to Velcro filters to everything, and it was how to shoot a wedding. And that's kind of the thing. Because my start was like, I wanted to shoot weddings because I knew there was money in it, and I felt like I was good with people.
Yeah.
But I contacted like 5 photographers in the Reno area, and they all told me to drop dead in some form of way.
Dang.
They said, absolutely not. You're going to kill our industry. You are untrained. Why would we let somebody, even shadow us and all that?
See, and that's what's crazy to me because there's no secrets. It's all out there. You just YouTube. Like, I mean, you can find out anything. Like, I have a young man that actually you'll probably meet him. His name is Sasha, and we were talking because he's in college still.
Nice.
And he's getting his degree in marketing. I said, you played it right.
Yeah.
Like if I could go back and do it again, I would have never gone to art school. I would have just got a marketing
Business
degree.
marketing.
Business marketing.
Yeah.
And and so if he asks me for something, I'm like, dude, whatever you want, I'll help you. I'll tell you. There's no secrets anymore.
Right.
If I know it, I'll tell you. I'll give you whatever I know.
Well, there isn't. And like, it's not like anything that you've learned, anything that I've learned, I didn't create.
No.
It's not mine. I've just, like I said, I took it, I modified it, I made it my own, right?
Yep.
And if I do a long exposure shot, or if I put a light here, it's not because I created the light. I didn't make this light.
Totally.
Even the lighting in here, it's like we've seen what we like, we build it together. So for anybody to gatekeep anything in the photography world, it's
silly.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So and people, so that's how I got my start. People message me all over social media, like, how did you do this? Let me explain it to you. Let me send you a diagram. And if I did that to somebody and they said no to me, ultimately I'm like, well, they're off my list.
Right.
Like, you didn't create it. I'll backtrack it. I'll re-engineer it and figure it out. Ugh.
I fell in love. So one of the photographers that I drew so much inspiration from, and I don't look at his work as much today. Well, I do on Instagram because I still follow him on Instagram. His name is Albert Watson. He's a very famous commercial photographer. He's from Scotland.
Right.
And he only has vision in one eye, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of crazy.
Full
right?
vision, or like, is he
Yeah,
colorblind?
yeah.
Okay.
No, I believe he only has vision in one eye because one of the books I bought of his is called Cyclops because that was his photography nickname.
Well, hopefully he came up with it himself.
He's considered a master. You know how they have like the masters of photography, right?
Right,
He's legitimately a master of photography, and he's still alive. He shot some of the most epic portraits you've ever seen. You would recognize him. Like there's a famous one of Mike Tyson's neck with beads of sweat, like just all trapped out.
So do you feel like it's the one eye thing that gives him a thing, or happens to be
He's just a genius.
I wonder if he has like this.
He's just a genius in creation. His lighting, I took a lot of inspiration for how I like to light some things from him.
Right.
If it was just me choosing to light it versus what a client may want.
Right.
He's just incredible.
Interesting.
And he's a very, very incredible photographer. So yeah, any of you guys out there, if you're interested and you want to see an amazing commercial photographer, Albert Watson. Unbelievable. And the amount of famous pictures you'll see in there, you'll be like, I know this image. I know. Like the one with Tupac. Remember Juice, the movie Juice?
Yeah.
With a gun and the hoodie.
Yeah.
Like,
That's his shot?
That's his shot.
That's crazy.
There's a famous one with a chimpanzee holding like a revolver.
And is it all kind of like the same format? Like if you put them 3 together, would they look
You can
like
tell
the
it's
same
his
guy?
style,
See, that's
yeah.
the thing. It's a
You can
style
tell
thing,
it's a
right?
style,
So like,
yeah.
you put us in a room together, same gear, same lighting, same whatever. We're going to come up with a different thing.
Yeah, everybody
And
has a
that's-
style.
That's the beauty of it. It's
Yeah.
like we all have the same rules,
Yeah.
but then we modify it a little bit.
Yep. Totally.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look him up.
You'll dig. I think you'll dig his work. It's cool.
Awesome.
It's very cool.
I know we're so this is first episode.
Yeah.
First episode, kind of tearing it down. What are we at right now on time?
25 minutes, 43 seconds.
Oh, we should wrap
Nice.
up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
So
Dude,
the
that
goal
was
is
easy.
like 30 minutes to keep it going.
I would say 20 minutes.
yeah,
probably.
so we can kind of finish it.
So we can
and,
just I can cut this part in the edit, and then what we can just
I
do
like it.
now-
I think we leave it in. I think like this is part of it.
I could. Yeah.
I mean, I
We'll
feel
just
like
keep
this
it
is
raw.
talking. Yeah, so
Just keep it
we
raw.
have Noah here engineering here for the museum for us.
Yeah.
Um,
Normally, I would be sitting where Noah
Right.
sits, or somebody on my team,
Yeah.
or Noah might be working with me too.
Yeah.
So
I think no, I like that. I like that aspect of just us talking and asking questions. If something happens, it happens. You know, because we're not professional podcast. I mean,
we're just real.
Yeah,
Just keep it real.
and that's ultimately it. So yeah, let's end this. The goal is like a good 30 minutes or less on a podcast.
Yep.
And we're just getting started.
Unless you guys want something different, let us know. Right?
Yeah,
Let,
I mean,
let the audience can.
if it feels good. I mean, we'll feed questions. You know, we'll find us on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, wherever you can find us.
Yeah,
we
you
have
can
them
look
all
right
done.
there.
Yeah, so we're using this logo. Hence, this was actually done by Marcello and AI.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be talking about AI on the next episode, and we'll start rocking this out. We'll figure all that smart stuff out, and hopefully this kind of goes somewhere. We want to keep it within the Reno community, but then also kind of push out.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to bring on guests. Like, there's a lot of creativity happening throughout our entire region with like Burning Man, or even just like what some of the legislators are doing to have creative new regulations for our area, or businesses. What is a new business doing that's creative and different? You know,
that's what it has to be, right? Like I'll drive down the road and I'll see a weird structure that goes up.
Yeah.
And then the amount of comments on Facebook that are like, "Oh, is this where our talk?" You know, I'm like, there's probably a reason for it. Let's just talk about it.
Let's find out. Yeah.
But just something in the art, the creativity world. And then I guess what's going on, but I don't want to be like a Reno only. Yeah, I mean, I want something fun, something different.
I think we can expand beyond our region, but at first, I think we'll, like you said, focus heavily on our region because that's what we live. I mean, that's where we know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I built my brand and business here. I mean, born and raised, which makes it a lot easier for me to make money here.
Yeah,
so I have to give back a little bit.
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, I loved it. That was great, man. It was fun.
Well, guys, we appreciate it. Find us on all the socials.
I'll put them
ask
up on the screen
questions.
for you guys too. Like when I do pop the edit, I'll put some logos on the screen.
We'll do it. We'll make it happen.
Till next time.
Oh,
We'll see you.
Episode 1 done.